Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Big Hour, Gerry's Percentage. Later in the hour, Gerry will join us at 5:30. Kevin Weeks coming up in a few moments. Panthers, Rangers on Broadway in New York tonight. Love it.
What
Doesn't get any bigger than that.
Whoa. Yeah, that would be so sick. Hayes, have you seen a game at MSG?
I have not. No.
Ooh.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
Dude,
Mandatory.
in the fall, next season, when does the schedule come out for next season?
July,
Probably
I
in the
think.
summer.
Yeah, July.
away.
We're going to Leafs at Rangers, couple shows down in Times Square, wherever we can set up shop, and Leafs Rangers. It's literally must. It's a must.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I mean, 11 years ago, when the Leafs were up 4-1 against Boston, I was going down. Second
going.
round.
So were me and Taddy. We had
we're
our
all going
passports
down.
out and everything.
Everyone was going down. So I would have seen it if the Leafs didn't puke away a 4-1 lead with 11 minutes to go. But that's neither here nor there. It's a positive Wednesday.
It'll be.
We don't need to dig that
We don't
up.
need to dig into that. It doesn't matter. That's a part of the past.
Yeah,
We're moving forward.
We'll do the whole MSG experience. It'll be great. Little dinner. My favorite bar,
Noodles
Johnny's Bar.
Noodles
Johnny's.
will take us to his grubby pubs.
Yes.
Okay.
Johnny's Bar in the Village. It is just unbelievable. Last time I was in there, just hanging out, Lenny Kravitz was just sitting at the bar by
Unreal.
himself.
Oh, I
having a
forgot,
great-
Hazy. We hung out.
We
We
did
went
New
to the
York.
coffee shop. Yeah, it was a cool
we
spot.
did New York for the draft. A little place called Bill's, like in Midtown. I remember
love
that.
it,
It was a
love
great
it.
spot.
Wow, you guys
great
wouldn't
company,
remember,
great
though.
spot.
Great company. You almost got stuffed in a garbage can. It was a fun time. It was a fun
We all had a
time.
lot of fun. We had a lot of
Yeah.
fun that night.
Yeah,
it was
we
a
did.
great time. And I haven't been to New York in a while, man, but I love New York. And there's just so many great, like, just character spots all over Manhattan. It's amazing.
You gotta. I mean, we had my 40th birthday there, so we did a bar called Lavo. It was awesome. We stayed at the Gansevoort, right, like in Midtown. It was awesome. Go down to the meat packing. Like, there's just
Great
so
spots.
much
Great
going.
spots, man.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I love New York City. I lived there. I lived on the island. It's a
You're
must.
an alumni, too, man. You got to
I
get
am
us
an alumni
hooked
at
up
both
with
teams,
the Garden.
right?
Both
Yeah, that's
teams.
true. I mean, I had a real short cup of coffee with the Rangers. Like, think about this. When I got traded to the Rangers, okay, they had just traded Leach, I think, to Toronto. Messier finished his career there. But they had, I want to say, an $80 million payroll back then. Like and remember Sather went there and said he was always bitching and complaining in Edmonton, saying if I had the Rangers money, I would, we would have winner after winner, and it was feather. They were paying Bobby Holik $10 million.
Oh, they
a year.
paid everyone, and everyone went there, and it was like they couldn't win with the collection
They were
of players.
just spending. I don't think Lavi's coming on anytime soon, by the way. Yeah.
No,
Why?
what happened with Peter Laviolette? Why not?
I was watching the Rangers, and I don't know if it was the lighting. It looked like he was dyeing his hair. So Mike Peck is an assistant coach. So I texted him and I said, tell
Why
Lavi
would you
to
do
stop.
that?
I don't know. I said, tell Lavi to stop painting his hair because you can notice it on TV. And he wrote back and he goes, I don't think I should bring that to his attention. And to my knowledge, O-Dog, I don't think he dyes his hair.
Yeah.
So then I tried to connect with the PR guy from the Rangers, and I said, is Lavi any chance for Lavi?
Just a middle finger emoji.
No, he just said, Lavi's not coming on today. I just said,
Or
okay.
ever.
Yeah, it's that's a tough one to break the ice with after, Laviolette.
But I have a
maybe heard through the
relationship. He
grapevine.
used to be my coach.
I
It's
know,
not like I'm
exactly.
some
but you
doorknob
told him he
on
had a
his-
booger in his nose. You told him to zip up his fly.
I know.
Now you're talking about his salad. Like, this guy, just leave him alone. He's a hell of a coach. Like,
Yeah, he is.
They actually could win the cup. I mean, they're
That guy
all
was
for it.
on my ass, Peter Laviolette, every day. I had this attitude where I'm like, I'm in the National Hockey League. I do not need to do my chin strap up in practice. Like, I'm just not doing it. I never did it. Every morning, do your chin strap up, and I just would ignore it. And then I pulled the Dougie Gilmore, and I did it up behind my helmet. And when he saw that, I thought he was going to chase after me and cross-check me right in the face. He couldn't stand me. And I understand why, but it's over with.
Maybe that's why he's not coming on, not the hair dye stuff. I mean, I don't know. The lights at MSG, like they got a different lighting system than anywhere else.
Dude, everything's better. The goal song is better. It's the best celebration.
It's the biggest show on earth right there at MSG.
My wife could care less about sports, but every time at Christmas time we go to New York, we watch a Rangers game. She loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, it's the Garden too, right? It's right there, like Penn Station, Midtown. You're off Broadway, like the history of it.
The only thing I struggled with, when I used to play it there, you come in street level and then you got to walk up that ramp, and it's like on the 5th level. My legs.
You know how you're going to play walking up that ramp. I'll tell you.
Exactly. Like you've got a full lather on getting up the ramp, and then you get there, and then you walk in, and it's like, okay, this building's going to be rocking tonight. I'm going to try and not give up a 7 spot. We'll see how it goes, and usually those teams are always good, regardless of, for some reason, even if the Rangers stink, they're still good in that building. Like I just always
in the building,
felt,
or they have studs on that team that are going to get you if they're in the mood that night.
Exactly.
It's a great spot, and we got a game tonight. We got Game 1, Panthers, Rangers. Game 1 tomorrow night, Oilers, Stars, and to look ahead to both series, here's our buddy Kevin Weeks of ESPN TSN joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. How you doing, Weeksy?
What's up, boys? I'm good, man. How you guys doing? What's happening?
We're good.
We're doing good, Weeksy. What do you think of the goaltending?
Oh, you're looking good too. Oh, by the way.
Hey, I wasn't ready before, but now I'm ready, if you know what I mean by that.
You're looking good, brother. You look good. You look good. Keep it going. You're looking good.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the goaltending, Kev. There's some studs in net. Like, it's just such an important position. And you look at Ottinger, Bobrovsky, who else? Shesterkin. They're real quality guys. What Skinner's going to do or what he's going to be, we don't know. But what do you think of the teams that have just said in the past couple of years, Weeksy, we just need kind of this goalie back there to do the job, and you're seeing these elite studs in the Final Four?
Yeah, I trend more towards the elite studs myself, because I think if we look over history, we can think of all of them, right? Over history, from Fleury to Vernon to Fuhr to Hasek to Belfour to Marty, Luongo. We can go down the list, the long list of Patrick Waugh, of all the greats, Henrik Lundqvist, Jonathan Quick. There's so many of them. It's tough to win a Stanley Cup and to go deep at any playoff level, in any level of hockey, really, if you don't have very good elite level goaltending. 3 of the 4 guys are elite that are remaining right now, for sure. Jake Ottinger, I'd say, is probably the best young goalie in the league right now. I love Otter's game. It's very repeatable. He's very smooth in the net. He's big and he plays big, and his teammates love playing in front of him. In the case of Shesterkin, he literally took the baton from Henrik, which would have been impossible for anybody else here in New York, and he's playing at a Lundqvist-like level in terms of the numbers, and at certain points his numbers have even been better to this point than Hank's. And then, of course, in Sergei Bobrovsky, 2-time Vezina Trophy winner, and now he's nominated for his 3rd Vezina. He's a Vezina finalist this year. He's a future Hall of Fame guy, I think, when it's all said and done. So this is a great time, these 2 conference final, East and West, for a lot of the young goalies that are out there that watch, and even for a lot of the weekend warriors that play, pickup and adult pickup league and rec league and beer league. These are 3 of the best that do it in these 2 conference final.
Weeksy, when you look at the goaltenders you just laid out, now let's look at the teams in front of them. I mean, they're constructed a little bit differently. You look at this Rangers team that got tremendous depth. We mentioned the goaltender. You got a Norris defenseman. Florida, for me, is a team that everyone's circling and just saying, they'll play any which way and they'll beat the hell out of you, but they've got skill, they've got speed. When you look at that series, who would you give the edge to, just based on, either cachet or the way they play coming into it?
We're actually in the car on the foot of the Hudson, so I don't have to speak loudly. But if we were outside the vehicle, I'd be whispering this answer. I would say I give the Florida Panthers a slight one of their whiskers edge, because they can play, as you said, the game any way you want it. They can bring the game into the alley, into Alligator Alley. They can force you to have to play more physical. They don't quit on pucks. They don't quit on board battles. They're tough in front of the net offensively. And defensively, they'll battle even in front of their own net in front of Bobrovsky when they're playing their A game. I just think they're a very complete team. I love the fact that they're as versatile as they are. For the Rangers, they're high skill. They're great power play. They have great individual weapons. And Panarin, who's one of the best players in the league. Of course, Foxy, who you just mentioned on the back end. Zibanejad's become a star here on Broadway. And Trocheck. Trocheck's become like the all Mr. Everything guy, glue guy, that happens to be skilled enough, but he checks well, he defends well, he wins draws. So I give the slight edge right now to the Panthers because of their physicality. But I'm curious to see if Labby is going to play my guy, Rempe, a.k.a. as I was the first to coin him, the Rempire State Building. Does he play him?
I hope.
That's what I want to see.
I hope, man.
Yeah.
He
Right?
mixes. He doesn't play much when he's in the lineup, but he does bring some animosity to the table at a minimum. I mean, center ice
Beat
and
the hell out
Parents.
of somebody.
something you watch, right?
Yeah.
Some deterrence. And as long as he doesn't take penalties, well, I don't know. For me, I try to get him a 6-7 minutes a game, let him get in on 3 or 4 checks and try to impact the game that way as long as he's responsible. I know as a young player, he's learning his craft at the NHL level, but I've been a big fan of his since he's come up, and I think he's added a different dimension to their team, and particularly in this matchup against Florida, where Florida's maybe the more physical team. I think Whippy could be of value here if he's used properly, and again, if he's disciplined as well.
Weeksy, can you speak about the turnaround in Florida? They got their ass handed to them by Tampa. They pulled the trigger on the Tkachuk trade. And it seems like one player, and they did bring in Mo, and he's been a big part of this. You know, the later in his career, it seems like he just understands every single possible scenario that could happen out there, and he's done a fantastic job. But it seems like that one player, Matthew Tkachuk, has completely transformed that whole organization. It's just got to be, like, in 15 years, if you want to talk about the top trades that have been made for an organization, you can't say enough about what Billy Zito did, pulling the trigger on that trade for Matthew Tkachuk, because everything is different.
Transformational. To your point. Transformational. You like my Scarborough accentuation there?
Yes.
Yes.
Transformational.
Yes.
That's what Matthew Tkachuk has been. I told everybody in Calgary. I told all my family in Alberta. And I told the fans and everybody, I told them, that's your guy right when they drafted him. That's your guy. Right off the Memorial Cup. That's the guy. Well, we have Johnny Hockey. We have Matthew Tkachuk is the guy. I took so much flack. And then when they signed him to that bridge deal, the 3-year deal, I knew it was cooked after. They should have given him the Saddle Dome roof, given him a family pass to what do they call it? The family pass to Stampede.
Stampede for sure, yes.
Everything. I told everybody this. And Noodles, you know. And then I said, okay, this guy could be involved in the trade. Everybody, Weeks, you're wrong, which it turns out they should have done everything for him, for Keith, for Chantel, for Taryn, for anybody in the family, for Uncle Tommy, anyone, to keep him in Calgs. His trade, to your point, has taken the entire soul out of the Flames, and it's injected it into South Florida, into the Panthers. And I got to tell you, he said to me, he's like, Weeks, man, I knew it was sweet here. I never knew it was this sweet down here. This is unbelievable. And what I love about him, and you guys will be able to appreciate this, and our audience will be able to appreciate this, is even though his dad had a great NHL career, he was an outstanding player for a long time, and under those, at that time, he made really big cake, big money at that time. Those boys play hungry. They play poor. Matthew and Brady play poor. They play like they don't come from affluence. They don't cheat the game. They'll give everything they have. And yes, the Florida Panthers getting him, to me, that was the key in really transforming their franchise. And you're right, Paul Maurice, our guy's done a great job there. Billy Zito, I have to hand him credit for what he's done in reshaping the roster. And he's kind of made them like an old school, new school team. You want to play up tempo? Cool, we do that. You want to slow it down? Cool, we can do that. You want to play off the rush? We can do that. You want to play the cycle game? We can do that. And, of course, they're physical. And Sam Bennett is another one of those guys that I go back to that the Flames had, who I understand it was a different time in his progression as a young player and a different time in their window as the Flames. But those two guys, not limited to, but they've done a great job. And I love the way Florida, they've taken over the Sunshine State. We have to give Tampa their flowers. They won the Cups. and Coop and their group has done an amazing job. But team to team today, the Florida Panthers have taken over the Sunshine State.
You ever put your plaid shirt on and your cowboy boots and go to the Stampede, you trasher? You ever go there? Or is
I
that
did.
That...
I have. Yeah.
Come on, man.
I swear to God, I went to Did I go Stampede? He's nodding here in the passenger seat. I've gone to the Pede, and Noodles, you can appreciate this. I've got my Western Canada passport now, so I'm good to go.
All right. We'll take your word for it, man. We'll take your word for it. We'll take your word for it with Kevin Weeks. Game 1, Panthers-Rangers tonight. Out west, it starts tomorrow. Edmonton and Dallas. And the Oilers, we're trying to figure them out. Like Dallas, they've gone through Vegas, they've gone through Colorado, they won the West, top team in the West in terms of points. Edmonton's been a really good team all year, but more of an up and down with the way they started, and Woodcroft gets fired, and Knobloch's in, and the goaltending carousel throughout the playoffs. And last round, McDavid, went pointless multiple times, which seemed an impossibility, and yet they found a way to win. Like, where are you at with the Oilers and your confidence level that they can continue to get it done and actually get through Dallas?
Okay, when Vegas was – initially I said Vegas would win, come out of the West, maybe win the Cup. Then they were eliminated. I'm like, it's got to be Dallas. And I'm very bullish on Dallas's team. The all-OHL line, when they're together, Marchment, of Sagan, and Matt Duchene, who's been a revelation for them on that one-year deal, by the way. And Tanev going there, them getting him at the deadline has been huge. All things being equal, I love Dallas' team. Pete DeBoer, Steve Spott are doing a great job with them. But I got to tell you, Noodles, your Oil, and I say your because I know you're from up there, there's something kind of special with what the Oil have been doing. I got to say, I did games 4 and 6 up there for ESPN, so I've been up there 5 of the last 8 days it's been. There's something special happening up there. I don't know if they can take out Dallas, but I'm going to be one of the lone wolves in the forest. And I'm going to say I wouldn't be surprised to see the Oil take them out.
I like it.
I love what Leon Draisaitl's done. I love what Connor and those guys have. Put it this way, the Edmonton Oilers and Leon Draisaitl and of course Connor, those guys are on top 5 for points per game in the Stanley Cup playoffs all time. Boys, we know, we've seen Mario. We saw Gretz. We saw Yager, Mess, everybody else, Ronnie Frank, all these players, all these greats. The fact that they're on that list is beyond, incredible, right? That means that they have not dried up come playoff time. They've continued their same production. If anything, they've even produced at higher rates, those two. So as long as they keep blocking shots the way they are now, and the power play is still the best on record in the National Hockey League, and their penalty kill has been great, why not the Oil coming out of the West? I pose the question. I might even shade the Oil might come out of this series in 6 or 7.
Ooh, okay. I like that. I mean, listen, defensively, they've played really well. The second half, and against LA they did. And again, look at what they did in Game 6 and 7. They just smothered Vancouver. They gave them nothing.
They bought themselves some time, Hayes, is what they've done, because we've seen Draisaitl dialed in. We haven't seen Skinner. We haven't seen it all on top of their game at the same time. McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, the goaltender, the special teams. It hasn't all come together, but what they've done, they bought themselves some time, which is so imperative.
I agree. And they found ways to win they found different ways to win. And I'm just really impressed. I talked to Zach Hyman at length the other day. I talked to Connor McDavid prior to Game 6, and he said, I said, what's the biggest thing for you guys? He's speed and pace. I was like, okay, speed. That's from Connor McDavid. Then he went in to do his scrum, and they really outskated Van. They were the faster team. So I think, Florida will bring the Rangers potentially into a more physical style, the Edmonton Oilers have the ability to play at a faster pace than Dallas and maybe bring Dallas into a pace that might be a little faster than they might necessarily want.
With Kevin Weeks, we're seeing news here, Darren Dreger reporting, confirming Sheldon Keefe is the new head coach down in New Jersey. That turned around quick. What do you make of that news? Sheldon Keefe getting right back into it and getting the job with the Devils.
Well, when we go into the grocery store here and some of the Devils fans come up to me, I'm sure there's going to be 1 or 2 of them. They've been kind of frustrated, the Devils fans here, because they've seen all the, so many of the hirings, as I broke today, the one with Jim Hiller, of course, that removed the interim, and now he's full-time in LA. But so many of the Devils fans are like, what are we going to do? Weeks, what are we doing? Our neighbors, different people, like, what's going on? What's going to happen? So credit to Dregs for being on that. I think for Kiefer, this is an opportunity for him, and I played with him in Tampa. Listen, he should have learned a lot. I'm sure he learned a lot from his experience in Toronto, especially being a Toronto kid and coaching the Leafs, coaching, outstanding, super talented players in Matthews, Nylander, obviously Marner, Tavares, etc. But also, just in terms of handling the media and being around, there's a lot to learn for anybody, especially for a young coach. So maybe he brings some of that here to Jersey. I feel like guys, had Mike Sullivan wanted, I know he's under contract, but if Mike Sullivan wanted to kind of mutually part ways with Pittsburgh, there's no question that Kyle Dubas would have had Kiefer. That's his guy. They go back to Sault Ste. Marie. But with the Devils, this is a good young team that has a lot of good young talent, led by Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt as well.
Need a goalie,
Mercer.
Kev. They need a goalie, bud.
I agree. But at least he takes over a team that has a lot of upside, I believe. And if they get the goalie, if and when they get the goalie, because I don't like how long they've taken for that, to be honest.
Kev, I wouldn't have taken the job. I wouldn't have taken the job. I would have said, "You get a goalie, I'm interested." But if we're going to go to war with that, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to take the fall for that because that's what these guys are. They're getting people fired.
I know, maybe, and this is why I said this earlier this morning. Like, goalies and coaches are tied at the hip, and it's same thing with coaches and quarterbacks in football. But maybe that was a condition of Keeper taking the job. Like, maybe in his discussions with Fitzy, I played with him too, Tom Fitzgerald, maybe the discussion was, hey, listen, if I'm leaving Toronto, I'm out. Okay, you want me to jump back in this quickly? All right, it's East Coast. It's an hour flight. Cool. My parents can drive. My sister, whoever, whatever, family could drive 7 hours, 8 hours, door to door. Cool. However, I'm not going to be here very long if I don't get a goalie. So are we getting one or not? I would have to think Kiefer asked that question. Because I'm with you. There's no way I take that without getting attendee Noodles.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's significant for sure. I mean, this is what they got the full offseason to figure that out. They're not alone, though. A lot of teams will be, seeking goaltending out. We'll see. It's going to be a fun one tonight. Enjoy the game, Weeksy. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this. All
right, boys. Anytime, man. Thanks so much.
You got it. Kevin Weeks of ESPN and, of course, TSN here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Check out Maple Toyota's huge truck and SUV lineup, including Tundra, 4Runner, Highlander, and Grand Highlander, in stock and ready to deliver. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, I think it's a good gig though for Keefe. Like I think it's a smart play. Get back in. Jersey's got a lot of talent. Obviously, this guy during the regular season, his stats speak for themselves. He was a really, really good regular season coach. And he's got to prove he can push the right buttons and adjust and evolve in the playoffs like everyone else. But for a guy who had never coached in the NHL before to step right into a market like this and a team like this and handle it the way he handled it, I'm not surprised he's getting back in. Like, I'm not surprised New Jersey would think he's the right guy.
Good on the guy. Somebody saw something in him. It's not like it was just Kyle Dubas, buddy, and he
that's
just kept
getting. But it's not Dubas again. It's someone else.
Exactly. That's where I was going to go. Two things that are really good, because you're right, Hayes. He's going to a good young team. I'm sure Tommy Fitz has said, we're going to be working on the roster, goaltending, all of that. But he's not going back to his buddy. He's not going to Pittsburgh and following Kyle Dubas around. He's paving his own way. And he's going to have some culture shock. He's going to go from Toronto, where he's getting interviewed 3 times a day.
Yeah, but don't you think Noodles is going to love walking around and nobody saying squat?
100%.
But there's another side to that. He also won't say, "Hey, I need $100 grand because I want." No, you don't. Yeah. No, you're not getting that $100,000.
No, I get it.
You're right. Everyone looks, the media is going to bother him. You're also, there's a lot that comes with the Maple Leafs that's incredible. Like, you get every
I'm sure
staff.
there's going to be a few times, Hayes, where he's going to be like, are you serious? We're not doing that.
Right.
We're not flying here. We're not staying there.
Exactly. The owner won't sign off on what? Seriously? Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. Yeah, in Toronto, it's like, absolutely, whatever you need.
But you're right. I don't disagree with that. But I just think I'm talking about it is going to be culture shock for him. Whether he likes it or doesn't like it, it's going to be different for him.
For sure.
He's going from the biggest market to Hayes, your words, not mine. What is Jersey?
Nobody cares what people in New Jersey think.
There it is, because across the river 10 minutes is the Rangers. And just not farther along around the corner, the New York Islanders, and Philly's down the road. Like he's going to coach a really good team, and it's a good setting for him. And they, excuse me, they must have given him some extra money too. Sorry, I've got a bad cough, but
it's all good
because he had 2 years left on
extra
his deal.
money as far as what? Oh.
Well,
I always found that weird. How come the coach doesn't double dip? Like the Devils are just assuming his salary?
Generally, that's how it works. If like my understanding, Darren Dreger will join us, but let's say the Leafs are paying him $3 million and Jersey's paying him $2 million. I think it's basically Jersey plays $2 million and the Leafs still might owe him $1 million. Or the Leafs may say, listen, the only way you can have him is if you pick it all up. Like, we're not going to let him go somewhere else if we're going to keep paying him.
I think coaches should be like player. Like, you still get your money from Toronto, just like a guy that was bought out, and it's like, what do you want to pay me, Jerry? You want to pay me 3-2? I'll make it 6 next year. I thought that's so stupid.
I think it should be, but you're right. He could have sat on his ass for the next two years and collected X amount of dollars. He's right back into it. And to me, I don't think it'll be a 2-year deal. It probably gets a 4-year deal, and a little bit of a raise. So there's no downside here for Sheldon Keefe landing. And for me, it's landing on his feet immediately to another organization. We'll see what he's got. But it's a good young organization with players. He's not going to a rebuild. He's not going, hey, we're going to start over. San Jose, called and wants you to work with Celebrini, Arizona or Utah. Like it is a team that has high expectations that underachieved this past season.
Yeah.
And we'll see what they've got.
No one cares about what people in New Jersey think.
It's a good landing spot for Sheldon. We'll see if we can get him on. We haven't had him on in like 3 years. I bet you he'll start coming on now, right? He's somewhere else that'll happily accept their invitation. Yeah. But, congrats to Sheldon Keefe for getting a job. More on that later this afternoon. Jerry's percentages next.
You're going to want to hear this.
Jerry's percentages.
I don't love being commissioner as much as I used to. I actually love it even more.
That's the voice of a Hall of Famer.
Are you kidding? Have you been out drinking?
You're all pigeons. Filthy, filthy pigeons.
It's Gerry. Gerry.
All right, Jerry's percentages brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. From tip-offs to tie bites and puck drops to pizza, BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice-cold beers always dialed in for game time. Hustle into your local BP tonight. You guys ready to hear from Gerry tonight?
Go.
Yep. Heard you clowns playing the slide last week, and it reminded me to check my DMs to see what kind of action awaits. And to no one's surprise, it was overflowing with thirst traps, celebrities, TikTokers, and a few media members. But we won't name names, because Gerry never DMs and tells.
Interesting.
Thirst traps
in Jerry's DMs.
What is what is thirst trap?
I don't really know, man.
Is it just someone who's really good looking and people are drooling over them?
Sending a vibe out, and Jerry's claiming celebrities and TikTokers.
Do you think Gerry considers himself a thirst trap?
Yeah, I would think he's the recipient of it anyway. Yeah, I think he probably does. All right, let's get to the takes here. Come on now.
Yes.
Ilya Samsonov had one of the most tumultuous seasons in recent history. But there will be a team out there that signs him and makes him their number one goalie next season.
Good take.
20%. And the only reason it's 20% is because the league reeks of desperation. And some bozo out there is going to say, that's going to be my guy next year. And he's going to pull the trigger on it. I see him as some type of backup scenario, like a Calvin Pickard type. I don't know.
That's what he should be.
That's where I'm going. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So it's 20% because I think there's a bozo out there that's going to pull the trigger on it.
Well, he's going to get signed. He is an NHL goalie. I think it's 8%, the word starter. That he's not going to be a starter.
But Noodles, if you signed him, it would almost like what would be the difference between him and it would be a Martin Jones type situation.
No, I think you sign him to play with somebody else. Like Ilya Samsonov can give you 40 games. That's, that's the top for me. But if he plays 40, that's a tandem situation. He's playing with goaltender X.
I want him playing behind a guy like Bobrovsky. That's what I would want him as. And I don't even know if I'd want that.
But he's 26
too up and down.
27. Like he's not a guy who's a seasoned vet who has 300 games, 500 games in the league. Is a traditional two. I think he's a tandem guy. I think he's going to play. San Jose could sign him to play with Wedgwood. That's what I'll be looking at.
That's where I'm at. Like there's
8%.
32. You're at 8%.
Yeah.
I thought I was low at 20.
I thought you were going to be lower than that, but I do think there's a lot of horrible goaltending situations in the league.
And donkeys out there that thinks that someone's going to think he's going to be their guy.
Well,
look at what Edmonton did with Jack Campbell.
Yeah, I mean he's not
5
getting a
years
big deal.
times $5 million to Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell came off an all-star season. Not a guy. He wasn't waived and put in the minors the previous year.
Noodles, I get that, but I love Jack Campbell as a guy. I love him as a competitor.
Yeah.
But if you were going to make the assessment that was sustainable, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I guess the point I'm making is it's not that it's the right move, but someone's got to start games for bad teams. And I'll say 25%. I'll actually go higher than you because it may simply be both these guys aren't any good. And if Samsonov signs, it's like that guy's technically better than what else we have. So he's our number one. And if he stays healthy, he's going to play 42 games, which means he's the number one. I could see that. Like that's what we're basically saying. Will he start 42 games next year for a bad team? I could see it. I don't think it should happen. I still think it's unlikely. I'm at 25%. But if he signed in Chicago, would he be their number one?
No, Mrazek is.
Is Mrazek definitely better than Samsonov?
Well, yes, he's a better goaltender than Samsonov, yes. I mean, he played better than him last year.
2 years ago, he was Samsonov.
I understand that.
I mean,
I'm just saying. But they signed him for 2 extra years, like Chicago did. But that's the situation. He's going to be a tandem guy, but the wording was starter.
Yes.
He's not going to be a starter. My number should be lower than 8%.
Okay, go ahead.
But he's not going to be anybody's starter, but he's going to be somebody's goalie, and he might get to 42 games, but I think he's going to be a tandem guy, which is 30-something.
Even that tandem would have to be on a bad team, wouldn't you think?
Probably. And you're right. And
I'm not going to run down all the bad goalie situations in the league, but there's a number of them. Anyway, let's move on here. What else do you have, Gerry?
Yeah. George Springer is not in a good place right now, but it's just a matter of time before he returns to the leadoff spot. And when he gets it back, he'll keep it for the rest of the season.
Gerry.
I don't know, man.
Me neither, because we talked to Schneider last hour, and he even said, hopefully he gets it together and moves up the order. He didn't even say leadoff, which I found interesting. Yeah, it was further up the order where he can contribute more like he has historically.
It's almost like they had the analytics out on him. Remember when Josh Donaldson, I think the Jays were like, we love the MVP, we love the hustle, but the physical makeup, we don't believe it's going to last much longer, and it's almost like that's what's happening with Springer.
Well, he's got a couple years left on his deal at big money. And
massive money.
If it's already over, and it might, listen, he's been a disaster. Let's call it what it is. The guy's had a great career. He's been a great player. But this year, the numbers are staggering.
Maybe they knew that, though, Hayes. Maybe they knew it's we got to try to win with this guy 2 or 3 years in. Because just like the John Tavares contract or any other contract where you're looking at it and it's the last couple on that one, it's not going to look good, but we're going to take the chance on it.
Yeah, and that's where we're at. But, the idea of him getting back into the leadoff spot and then sticking with it all year, I'm low on this, 15%.
Really?
15%.
I'm 5.
Wow.
He might get another crack at it, Noodles. What I'm saying is he'll get back there and struggle, and they'll say that's enough. We gave you another chance. I think they'll give him another chance at some point. Yeah. I think they're waiting for him to get hot so it feels good, looks good. That will come. Like, he will have a hot streak at some point. He'll run together a 10 or 12 or 15 game stretch where he's hitting 400 or something and a few home runs, and you're like, all right, George is back, and they'll move him back up there. I just don't think it's going to be sustainable anymore.
Yeah, I believe in him somehow. You know, I like all of that. I'm going to go 35%, a little higher, but still
not
in the
totally
minority.
committed.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a little love. That's all. Maybe it's wishful thinking,
It's
but
ideal,
plus,
though.
who
You
the hell's
want
gonna?
it.
Yeah, but who's the guy who you circle and go? That's got to be the guy in
That's
the lead.
the problem.
That's
the
they don't
problem.
have anybody.
Like David Schneider, love his story, love the way he's playing. The guy's not an everyday leadoff hitter.
Maybe if that guy's your leadoff hitter, you're not the best team. That's what I always.
Exactly.
And it's an awful thing to say because he's Charlie Hustle. He hits. He does this. But when that story is on your team, it's sometimes reflective of where your team is at.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like he's. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's not in the Yankees.
No.
He's not in the Phillies. He's on the Jays.
He's on the Jays. Batting leadoff.
Agreed.
Jerry's all in on the RBC Canadian Open next week because my boy Rory McIlroy will be peacocking all over Yorkville. So will Gerry. And all over the winner's circle.
Interesting, man. Yeah, Rory, man. That Yorkville's, they better look out. Rory's on the prowl down there.
Dude, he was apparently, this jet tracking is fascinating stuff. He was went from the PGA, and then he was in Belfast, and then he was in Italy for his buddy's wedding. This guy is, you got 700 sheets in the bank. You can have a time when you get set free, let me say.
Well, Jerry's got him winning at Hamilton. That's what he did in 2019.
Oof.
You know what? It would be so Rory to win the Canadian Open. I love the Canadian Open. It's our national open, but he loves the golf course. And by the way, some of the numbers, Hayes, like those holes we played the other day, like that hole that you didn't look for my golf ball, you quit on me.
Yeah.
His tee was 50 yards back, and he ropes a driver over that tree and has pitching wedge in his hand.
Yeah.
For fun,
yeah.
dude.
Yeah, he's going over that tree. I crushed my ball, and I landed under the tree. I thought I got it. You're yelling, get through. I'm like, I thought it was there. And this guy is 50 yards back. And
your manhood took a punch right in the pills when I said get through that, and it didn't get to
touch a leaf. Did not touch a leaf. That was hurtful. That's why I didn't look for your ball. That's why I didn't look for your ball. It was hurtful.
Yeah, I thought you just crushed it, and I'm like, that thing is going to get right through that tree and just sprinkle right into that fairway, and it just died a slow death in the air.
Did not touch a leaf.
But it was well struck, bud.
It was well struck. But you're right. He hits a cut, right? Or he hits a draw, right?
He does whatever. It's just it's 115 yards away, and his tee block was 50. I went to that tee before. It's insane.
He might hit a 3-wood off that, legit.
Probably could.
He probably hit a 3-wood because it's a tight fairway the other way.
Yeah.
And he's crazy, man. I listen. It's an Open Championship. It's a tough course. It's a good field, but I'm 40% that Rory's going to win that thing next week. He is as good as, the Canadians that are coming up. My boy Tommy's coming up. You've got Sammy Burns and Sahith Theegala. You got Cameron Young. You got good players. Rory's a step above. He's a step above.
I'm playing the field. I'm low on this.
Okay.
16% because I'm playing the field.
All right.
I'm going to give him a 45% chance of winning.
Really?
I think he's just that good. I don't know. He loves this tournament. He's always winning it, so why not Rory? 45%.
All right.
JJ Redick is going to ride his podcast with LeBron right into being the next coach of the Lakers. Whatever Bron wants, Bron gets.
That's true, man. This is really picking up steam. NBA insiders are reporting that the Lakers are infatuated with JJ Redick.
No, they're not. No, they're not. LeBron is, and he's telling them this is who he wants. You can't see that?
I see it clearly, but I'm just telling you what reports are.
He's been running the organization since he got there.
I would, if I'm JJ Redick, I can't take this job.
No.
It's really a difficult spot because you get the impression he obviously wants to be a coach. And if you're the coach of the Lakers,
do it a different way, though, dude. Like,
exactly.
Let Doc Rivers just fade away or something and just take that job, or do it the original way instead of doing it. It's like Hayes. If you won the Powerball and you bought a team and you're like, O-Dog and Noodles are my 2G. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that. I wouldn't want that. Just do it the right way. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It seems like it'll be forced, and eventually that friendship will end because LeBron's going to have to fire him. Well,
that's true, too.
LeBron's not going to play forever, though. I feel like he's probably close to the end. But
what do you think he's got left, Hayes? He's got 2 years left?
Probably 2 years. Yeah, probably 2. But we probably said that about Brady when he was 40.
Yeah,
We're like, what's he got, a year or two? And he kept playing. I wouldn't put anything past LeBron. Like, guy's in immaculate shape. He loves the game. He wants to play. But yeah, that's a good point, Noodles. The idea that LeBron is going to snap on whoever the new coach is at some point.
Right, and they're buddies.
And with the podcast, it's just awkward, man.
It is awkward.
It's an awkward scene if Reddick gets the job.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's outlandish. Like, Gerry's onto something here, man. I'm going to say 49%. Like, I think it's close to a coin flip. I'm just into the minority. It's also the Lakers. Like, how is he ready for that? You know what I mean? Like, he's never coached anywhere, and you're going to get the job with the Lakers, and LeBron's on the team, and the team isn't that good. Like, it's a circus there. But 49%, I mean, there's a lot of smoke. I wouldn't be shocked if there's fire and J.J. Redick gets the job.
Yeah, I'm lower on this because it probably just because I think it shouldn't happen. It's 20%.
Who knows, Brian? This guy might be a genius and just dying to do this, and he might be a brilliant mind, and it could work out. Who knows?
That's again what people are looking at. Like that, the NBA in particular has weird coaching history of players that are in the media and then they step in. It happens. You know, everyone's looking for the next Steve Kerr. You know, and it's like, could that be J.J. Redick, Pat Riley? You know, there's been a number of coaches over the course of the league's history where that's happened. You know, and he's a smart guy, and he knows basketball. Like, that's not up for debate. But I don't know. That one would be weird. With him and LeBron in the podcast and now the coach. Gerry's Percentages was brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar, from tip-offs to tie bites and puck drops to pizza. BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice-cold beers always dialed in for game time. Hustle on your local BP tonight. Little Gerry's After Dark coming up in an hour. Sheldon Keefe has been hired as the new head coach of the New Jersey Devils. More on that still to come. Game 1 of the Eastern Final tonight. Jays in action. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, so Sheldon Keefe has been hired as the new head coach of the New Jersey Devils. So congrats to Sheldon, and I think that's a smart play. He's a young guy. He's you know, there's always anxiety issues, you know, if you get fired and it's like, am I going to be forgotten? If you sit back and wait, does the league move past you?
Everybody thought he was Dubas's guy.
Yeah. And he obviously went in there, impressed Tom Fitzgerald, impressed the Devils. His regular season record speaks for itself.
Yeah, good on the guy, man.
Yeah, he did a great job in Toronto during the regular season. He did. And he's handled everything. There's nothing he's going to see there that he hasn't seen in Toronto.
Zero. Nothing's going to be like, oh, my God, are you serious with that?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's going to be an interesting team to watch, man, because their goaltending was abysmal last year, and they had injury problems. And, you know, yet the year before, it was go time. Like, they arrived. They were a team on the rise with a ton of skill, ton of talent, and he's similar to what he dealt with here. Like, Jack Hughes is a stud, you know, like there's a lot of them there. And Sheldon's he's got a big job, but it wouldn't surprise me if they had a lot of success.
Top 50 Dougie will be back.
Top 50 Dougie. He will be back. That's true. There's a number one D-man.
But you're right. They need a goaltender or somebody. They went and got Jake Allen, but they need somebody that, you know, lets the manager sleep at night. You know, 50, 60 game starter. I know there's only a handful of them, but there potentially is 3 guys, at least 2. Allmark, I think, is a 50-game guy at most. So he's more of a tandem guy, but he's a good goaltender. Markstrom and Saros. If those 2 guys are available, Jersey's got to be in on him.
Jamie, you got to explain to me why Nashville Is Nashville hesitant on Saros because they believe Askarov is going to be the guy?
Yes, I had this debate
That's
today.
a hell of a gamble, man.
It is. Now, here's the thing is, what do you believe Saros' next contract should look like? For me,
probably going to want $7 million a year.
7 or 8, yes, because that's what he's been a top 6 Vezina finalist like 4 years in a row. He's been that good. Like he's an unbelievable goaltender who can play 60-plus games. So that's a guy you sleep at night. So even if he gets 7 or 8 on a long-term deal, I don't know if they believe that would be the pathway for Askarov, the next goaltender, to push through. Kind of like Saros was to Rinne. The challenge is the timeline is probably sped up a little bit because Saros needs the extension now. He doesn't need it 2 years from now where you could have Askarov be mentored by him like Rinne did with Saros.
But Askarov hasn't even had the 2 years as a backup position where he's like playing 20 games and you're like, oh, that guy's a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah,
agreed. Yeah, they're in a real tough predicament, but the kid, it looks like Askarov is going to be able to play this year or be ready to play. But what is the ceiling? Maybe he plays 30 games. Maybe he plays 40. Who knows? But if it's not Saros, they're going to have somebody that they trust play with him.
Maybe Ilya Samsonov. Maybe that's where he ends up.
There you go.
Samsonov and Askarov. And there's your tandem.
Your guy.
There's your tandem. All right, Darren Dreger coming up in the next hour. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.